I'm asking you a
There
specific
is,
question.
there
No, no,
is,
please,
there is,
Lieutenant Colonel, I'm asking you a specific question. I'm asking you a very
I'm
direct
answering
question. No, you're
I am
not. You're not
answering the
answering. You're
direct
not
question and
answering the
saying,
question. You're not answering the
I am,
question. So I'm going to ask it again. There is
the way a
evidence.
question is answered is where
There
you
is
get an opportunity
evidence,
to give the context and then answer the question, which I'm
and we
doing.
have the
You
context, and we've
interrupted me
given the
every single time I
context.
started a
There
sentence.
is evidence that the
As
IDF
part
is
of the
working with
agreement,
militia groups in Gaza,
it's
and I'm asking why you are bolstering those militia groups during a ceasefire.
is part of the agreement. Israel is not involved in any type of violence inside the yellow line or at all.
President Trump is obviously keen to keep his Middle East peace plan working. He's sending not one but three of his top team to Israel today. His envoy Steve Witkoff and his own son-in-law Jared Kushner are expected to arrive. And tomorrow the Vice President J.D. Vance will also make a visit to Israel. It's a precarious time for peace. The ceasefire was broken at the weekend with both sides accusing one another. We can speak now to Lieutenant Colonel Nadav Shoshani, who's the spokesman for the Israeli Defense Force. Good morning. Lieutenant Colonel, are you with us?
I'm with you. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Hamas said yesterday it remained committed to the Sharm el-Sheikh ceasefire agreement and that it was Israel that broke the terms. What's your response to that?
Well, I think we need to look at the facts, and the facts are very clear if you look at them in chronological order. Since the beginning of the ceasefire, Hamas has violated the agreement dozens of times. And most recently, yesterday, in multiple occasions, crossing the yellow line. This is an agreed line in the ceasefire agreement where IDF is beyond that line. Crossed that line in multiple occasions. Yesterday in northern Gaza with gunmen, we've even released that video. And in southern Gaza, terrorists opened an RPG fire and armed fire against our troops, killing 2 soldiers. That is what began the whole thing. And obviously we responded for that. We are vigilant, understanding we're facing a terror organization. We're vigilant because we know who Hamas is, and we've been dealing with them for years, and we will not allow a terror organization to just kill our soldiers and threaten our civilians and violate the agreement.
Well, that's the key. That's the key question here, isn't it? Forgive me. Is it Hamas? Because Hamas say that they have not been operating in that area for quite some time. They say that these attacks, these people who attacked the IDF in this way, were not Hamas operatives. Have you been able to confirm who they were?
Well, I'll answer that question twofold. One, yes, they were Hamas. And the second thing is, this is just one out of many dozens of violations. So at the same time this incident happened in southern Gaza, another one happened an hour later in southern Gaza, another one happened in northern Gaza. At the same time, Hamas is executing its own people in Gaza, not holding their end of the agreement of disarming. Hamas is still holding 16 Israeli hostages and not returning them, the deceased hostages. So Hamas has violated the agreement time and time again. Yesterday was an extremely severe one because they killed our soldiers operating in an agreed area, in an area that is controlled by Israel. But even before that, they have violated the agreement time and time again, dozens of times on a daily basis, crossing the yellow line, killing their own people, not disarming, not releasing the hostages as agreed.
Can I ask you about that yellow line? Because there are reports, and Catherine Phelps, our World Affairs editor, was talking to us earlier on the programme and suggesting that there are multiple reports now that it is not clear to civilians where that yellow line is. It's confusing about the boundaries, and that there are some concerns that people are being caught up in this kind of thing because they have strayed into areas unknowingly. Is that a fair point? Do the areas need to be more clearly marked, do you think?
Well, we are in a process right now of marking those areas. They're also publicly known, published in social media. Anywhere you want, you can see the map, but we are also marking on the ground with a yellow line. But more than that, I want to explain. IDF does not carry fire just at someone lost walking around an invisible line. That is not what's happening. There is a very strict procedure, and someone needs to be posing a threat and not listening to the warning shots, the warning signals, and so on. And in this case, yesterday, we put out a video, Hamas gunmen crossing the line, warning shots, keep moving, eliminated. In another incident in southern Gaza, this is a person with an RPG and another person with an armed fire firing towards our soldiers. So
there have been reports. There have also been reports of civilians being caught up in this and civilians being killed as a result of this. That's why I ask you the question about civilians specifically.
So there is an issue of marking, and I will tell you this. One is we are dealing with that issue and making sure that it is marked and clear, and that's a process that has already begun. maybe we can even show first images of that today, later on in the day. We're doing that. At the same time, our procedures are very strict. And at the same time, there are clear violations of Hamas. Hamas is attempting to try and portray this as people getting lost and IDF just killing people getting lost.
And
Hamas has violated that agreement dozens
and
of times.
you've made that point as well. The other question is about aid restrictions. Is aid now freely available? Is it getting into Gaza, specifically in that Rafah region, the Rafah crossing? Is that now open for aid?
Well, aid, the agreement says a certain amount of aid is going in. We are very committed to the agreement, and aid has been going in every day since the ceasefire came into effect.
Well, it's not necessarily been going in at the level that it was assumed it had been agreed in that ceasefire arrangement. It's just on that specific question. Is the Rafah crossing now open?
It has been going in.
Is the Rafah crossing now open?
Pace. It has been going in the agreed pace, and there is a process to open the Rafah crossing in the future. The Rafah crossing was not part of the immediate things that needed to happen after the ceasefire. The immediate things were aid going in. That has happened. Part of the process, disarming, rehabilitation, opening of the Rafah crossing is something that will happen further on and is in the works.
Well, the understanding is that the Rafah crossing should be open and has previously been open to allow aid into the region. Why is aid being restricted in this way when actually that shouldn't relate in any way to the ceasefire agreement? It is international humanitarian law. Aid should be reaching the people that need it. Why is it being restricted?
Well, aid is going in, as I said.
Yes, but it's going in at a restricted level, and I'm asking you why it's being restricted.
Aid is going in the agreed upon level. It is a level that is much more than is needed for Gaza daily. It is a level that is more than enough, and that is the reason.
How much is going in? How much is going in every day? How much is going in every day?
Including by Hamas.
How much is going in every day?
Many hundreds of trucks going in daily.
How many?
Levels that were agreed upon by Hamas. By the international community, an average of about 600 trucks a day. And these are levels that were agreed upon by everyone, all the parties, including of Hamas. So to say that we are restricting something is just not true, factually, on the ground. What agreed upon, Israel is doing, going in enough amounts. And these are numbers that even the terrorists from Hamas agreed upon, that is enough and sufficient and is correct. And there is a process, an ongoing process, rehabilitation for Gaza, opening of the Rafah crossing. But those are steps in the way further on that need to happen after Hamas holds their end of the bargain. Hostages have not been released. They were supposed to do that after 72 hours. It's been a week.
Yeah.
Where are the hostages? And all of a sudden yesterday, when we were responding to their violations, they said, oh, we have another hostage to return. So it's clear Hamas has the capability to return hostages, and it clears they're holding them as a bargaining chip.
Okay.
And it's very clear the agreement is speaking about not everything happens on the first day.
Okay.
It's a gradual process where each side holds their side of the bargain,
Lieutenant
and then
Colonel,
things happen further on.
There is evidence, which has been gathered by Sky News and some other outlets in the region, that the IDF is working with militia groups in Gaza. It is helping militia groups in Gaza. Why is Israel bolstering those militia groups during a ceasefire?
Well, part of the ceasefire agreement, Israel is not in the yellow line and not operating in the yellow line or anything like that. Israel is beyond the yellow line as agreed upon in carrying out the operations that has been agreed upon, is dealing with infrastructure, terror infrastructure, and tunnels and so on.
Yeah, that's not the question I'm asking you. I'm asking why the IDF is working with militia groups.
As part of the agreement, I think one, that is a smokescreen, trying to kind of get away the intention of Hamas executing Gazans because they don't like them.
No,
when they are uncomfortable with them.
I'm asking you a specific question. Please, Lieutenant Colonel, I'm asking you a specific question. I'm asking you a very direct question. No, you're not. You're not answering. You're not answering the question. You're not answering the question. So I'm going to ask it again. There is evidence.
The way a question is answered is
there is evidence
to give the context and then answer the question.
And we have the context, and we've given the context. There is evidence that the IDF is working with militia groups in Gaza, and I'm asking why you are bolstering those militia groups during a ceasefire.
Is part of the agreement. Israel is not involved in any type of violence inside the yellow line or at all. That violence inside the yellow line is caused by Hamas. As part of the agreement, there is a subject called finding alternatives to Hamas in Gaza. I understand some people do not want to see this terror organization out of Gaza, but this terror organization is the problem. And the ceasefire agreement agreed upon by everyone, all the Arab nations, the U.S., Even Hamas says that Hamas will be disarmed, that there will be alternatives to Hamas in Gaza, also internationally and also local Palestinian alternatives. And Israel is committed to work with the mechanism. Israel is committed to those principles. And we are acting according to the agreement in that sense. And Israel is not, and what this thing is insinuating, and what you are insinuating, is Israel is involved in causing violence in Gaza in the Yellow Line, which is factually not true, is trying to take away blame from a terror organization and put it on a country that is holding an agreement while that terror organization is violating that agreement.
No, I'm asking you why Israel is deciding to help militia groups in that region, militia groups which have violent intentions towards Hamas. The point of a ceasefire is to arrange a political solution to this problem, not encourage more fighting. I'm asking you why you're deciding to help those groups which have stated as an intention that they want more violence.
As I said, since the ceasefire came into effect, Israel is not involved in what's happening in the Yellow Line. Hamas is involved in violence inside the Yellow Line. You're trying to insinuate that we are involved causing violence inside the Yellow Line, which is just factually false. Israel, since the ceasefire came into effect, is not involved. Israel is committed to this international process. Hamas is not. Hamas is executing people in broad daylight, even though they were supposed to disarm, and even though there are supposed to be alternatives in Gaza. But Israel, the facts are simple. Israel is not involved in what's happening inside the Yellow Line in Gaza. Simple. Hamas is, and killing people, executing people
Lieutenant Colonel
in broad daylight.
Lieutenant Colonel Nadav Shoshani, thank you for your time on the programme this morning.